Welcome to I Am Audible. Before I begin on today's book, please click on the subscribe button, and also press the notification bell for any new updates, added chapters, or just another new book or stories to be heard. Welcome back as we continue on with our book reading of I Am is Inside Out. In today's chapter 8, it is about improvements and appreciations. Recognizing progress and growth is essential. So let's begin. Flutterby, my captivating companion, glided gracefully through the air, her delicate wings aligning with unseen currents, creating a calm and unhurried flight. This method of travel felt like the wings had gained a newfound intelligence, effortlessly navigating long distances. My inner fairy provided wise guidance. Although dozing off mid-flight was tempting, I acknowledged the risks. The constant reminders kept me alert and responsible during our airborne adventures. As Flutterby's presence grew stronger, the line between awareness and dreams blurred. Increasing my speed, I ensured she stayed within sight. Despite the desire to find the perfect fairy dwelling on this vibrant day, I realized the danger of becoming lost in the pursuit of clarity. Conversely, focusing solely on Flutterby created uncertainty. I chose to embrace the journey's unpredictable beauty, giving my full attention to Flutterby rather than fixating on an exact destination. From our high altitude, the view below remained distant and obscured. Sunlight illuminated the landscape as we continued on our northeastern path. I grabbed a prepared meal to eat while flying, appreciating my foresight in packing sustenance for the journey. Despite our rapid flight, the Earth seemed nearly motionless from our vantage point. Despite my suggestion for a different direction, Flutterby stuck to her northeastern course, impressively navigating the wind currents. Her instincts guided her with an ability that defied explanation, highlighting the mysteries surrounding her. Concerned about heading north, I hurried to keep pace with Flutterby and proposed an alternative, remaining where nectar would bloom until mid-fall. I suggested her offspring could return through my lands for a shorter migration, offering them more time for play and exploration. I also mentioned the benefits of late-season flossifluff seeds to keep warm. Continuing my journey, I contemplated a potential 6-month travel period and informed the Deception colony. However, success relied on Flutterby's return aligning with familiar territories. The possibility of waiting months with limited resources worried me. Considering that Flutterbys mature and mate quickly after awakening added to my concerns. There was a chance my Flutterby could be a second-generation migrator, extending her travel time. Boredom began creeping in early. An interruption from my inner fairy brought me back to reality. My apologies, inner fairy, I had drifted into a daydream. I let my attention wander, allowing Flutterby to distance herself. After catching up, I observed her rear feet, though I refrained from touching them, mindful of manners. This proximity revealed Flutterby's flower-like scent, a detail previously unknown to me. I contemplated the possibility of differing scents among insects. Shaking my head to regain focus, I expressed gratitude to Inner Faerie for keeping me alert and preventing daydreaming while flying. Flying alongside Flutterby, I recounted my visit to the Deception colony, all while dodging distractions from her fluttering. Staying vigilant and agile made up for her erratic movements. I shared my Deception colony visit, I started. Their skills could shine in stage performances, excelling as actors with versatile roles, even transforming into props. It wasn't certain if Flutterby was fully attentive, but I proceeded, could you rest near colonies where someone might know my home's location? Your wisdom in finding knowledgeable fairies or secret Sora meeting spots would be invaluable. She didn't object, so I detailed enchanting locations and neighboring creatures from Sora stories. Despite stumbling in my telling, Flutterby listened politely. As I shared my delight in hearing Sora stories by their cliffs, she interjected, urging me to appreciate the present moment. I recognized that I had drifted into memories and thanked her, acknowledging the joy of the ongoing journey together. "Fairy, what about your wings?" she inquired. "Thank you for the reminder," I replied. Though my wings may not resemble the elegant soarer wings I imagined as a groundling, they're serving me remarkably well. Flutterby didn't seem puzzled by my audible response to an unseen presence. Living out a fantastical travel dream is most fulfilling with a present-focused mindset. Recognizing this, I expressed gratitude for the reminder to appreciate blessings and stay in the moment. My inner faeries' wisdom, Flutterby's guidance, and my gifted wings were all internally appreciated. Amidst the sky, I noticed a group of large white birds with elongated necks flying below, heading northward. Their shining feathers caught the sunlight. Incorporating various flying techniques, I enjoyed experimenting with their combined benefits during my journey. As the afternoon transitioned into late hours, the cooling air contrasted with the setting sun. Flutterby descended gracefully, settling on a tree branch nestled within an elevated hollow. Finding warmth proved challenging for me. Despite a lack of bird nests or rodent homes, I scoured the forest floor for materials to construct a shelter. Weaving these materials on a suitable branch near Flutterby's perch, I created a shelter with protruding leaves and twigs for night protection. I fortified the shelter with crushed leaves above and below, providing insulation from the wind. Though scratchy and earth-scented, it offered a degree of comfort for rest. A dream stirred me awake, transitioning from the past to the present. Emerging from my shelter, I relished the refreshing morning air. After a satisfying breakfast on a branch, I moved to a sunlit treetop for internal revitalization. In the sunlight, Flutterby's wing fluttering signaled the start of the day. I dismantled my shelter, despite the ties that secured leaf corners. Despite secure ties at leaf corners, many of my shelters were fragile, and even a few loosened ties could lead to collapse. To fortify them against heavy rain, I created a sturdy water-resistant roof by crafting a long cord to wrap around the shelter's length, securing overlapping top leaves. I also wove and braided fibers for flight whenever possible. During the next week, Flutterby and I stuck to our fair weather routine: morning feeding and flying, followed by a midday break, more flying and feeding in the afternoon, and finding sheltered spots for sleep at sunset. I wove materials into a pouch for carrying cord materials, made shorter ties to prevent tangling, and crafted the long cocoon cord. Engaging in flight tasks prevented my mind from wandering during sleep. Flutterby slept in a high tree hollow while I stayed nearby in a more secure shelter with added ties. Fairies and outsider fairies were absent for 2 days, making me wonder about their whereabouts and Flutterby's erratic flight. I hadn't sensed unusual creatures like the namer kind. Flutterby grew fond of nectar treats, playfully tickling me before feeding. During a late afternoon flight, unfavorable winds challenged Flutterby's progress, causing her to seek refuge on a tree's sheltered side. I marked her location with streamers and found my spot nearby. Wind gusts disrupted my work, leading to a chilly morning where I had to brave the cold, urged by Inner Faerie to stay warm through movement. I emerged to unwelcoming air, leaves entering my dress and causing discomfort. Removing them resulted in shivers and the necessity to remove my dress entirely due to trapped debris on my skin. I woke up, frustrated with my morning. To counter this, I tore apart my surroundings energetically. As I undressed, the cold air made me uncomfortable. I struggled with consuming something cold. The cloudy sky meant no warmth from the sun, pushing me to seek Flutterby at the treetops. But I couldn't spot her amidst the branches. Returning, I washed my cold fingers, looking for ways to warm up. Engaging in exercise seemed more appealing than enduring the cold. So, I played a game, flying from tree to tree. Despite warming up, I felt tired. Inner Faerie pushed me for 2 more rounds, which I reluctantly did. Afterwards, I sat on a branch for warmth, then flew a couple of quick rounds to keep warm. I insulated my dress with leaves, apologizing to the tree, and covered my ears on a perch. Flutterby's flight brought warmth, boosting our spirits. With sunlight, my dress released leaves, leading to a joyful game. I thanked Inner Faerie for the unexpected fun. Catching leaves was challenging yet rewarding. We landed for lunch, and I prepared for more play with leaves, using my creativity for joyful moments. After Flutterby resumed flying, I had a handful of leaf designs to experiment with. The strong high-altitude wind carried us beneath the lifting canopies. With Flutterby leading, I focused on refining my flying technique while following her shadow. The spinning leaves didn't offer enough challenge, so I let them twirl away. Leaves with natural curls worked better. I experimented with different approaches, like releasing leaves and diving ahead of them. Anticipating the right position was challenging. Even during swoop flying, Flutterby continued ahead, unfazed. I engaged in this for a few cycles, attaching erratic leaves to my belt and flying alongside her. Excitedly, I shared my accomplishment of catching 3 leaves in one swoop. Then, noticing the forest below, I saw it transform into rows of vegetation, feeling a pang of sadness for the loss of the forest's natural beauty. Perplexed by the geometric voids, I criticized their alteration of the forest. I released my last vibrant leaves in tribute and knew I'd have troubling dreams due to the degradation. The squares merged, creating monotonous plant life, robbing the landscape of diversity. We descended for sustenance and shelter, with Flutterby seemingly longing for a forest. She perched on a tree, her beats slower, as if mourning. I marked a tree with streamers and noticed distant planted squares of stunted plants, questioning where the forest went. Returning to Flutterby's tree, I discovered large avian occupants had turned 3 trees into a hatchery. Numerous nests provided shelter options, including egret feathers I could use for elegant streamers. Suddenly, I witnessed an egret tearing apart my nest, angry at my intrusion. It appeared I had entered its territory unknowingly. I revealed my fairy identity to the egret, which made it tense and ready to strike. Quickly, I grabbed my tie sack filled with feathers, extended it to trap the egret's beak, and propelled myself upwards. The egret struggled briefly before breaking free. Although I narrowly escaped, my heart raced due to the close encounter. I wasn't used to birds intentionally harming fairies, so I was relieved to have avoided danger. I was thankful for the earlier exercise that made me agile enough to escape. After landing near Flutterby, I checked my belongings, realizing I had feather fluff in my hair. Flutterby took off, so it is prompting me to follow. I chose to focus on gratitude rather than lost items. Despite losing ties, warm feathers, and more, I appreciated restful sleep, a safe escape, and the warmth charm. The friendships and skills gained from hostess and tutor were also positive. As chilling gusts arose, storm clouds approached. We sought shelter below the forest canopy to avoid the winds, marking the start of our search for a suitable hideout. Well, that is it for today's reading. Click on the like button if you enjoyed listening to I Am Is Inside Out. If you want to continue to the next episode, just click the link below. And I hope to see you soon.